Hello everyone. So today I want to talk about childhood memories again. So let's talk about when I used to hug random strangers on the street. Um, it wouldn't necessarily just be on the street, it could be in a shopping centre or in a park or wherever. You know, I had no rules. I'd just hug anyone really. I always homed specifically in to children. Children of roughly the same age and same height. So I guess it was a lot of it had to do with relating to what I was seeing, right? Oh, look, it's like looking in a mirror as another version of me. There's something else as well which I can't quite put my finger on. There was just something really joyful about it every time I would connect physically with another human being of my age. There would just be this exchange of energies almost. Most kids would actually react quite positively to this, believe it or not. Because, you know, at that age you haven't been shut down to random acts of kindness. When you get older, that starts becoming a little bit weird. You don't hug strangers, you don't do this, you don't do that. But as a kid, you know, you get a hug from a random, you know, it's cool. You know, there's no problems there. So if it was gonna be anyone reacting in a hostile way, like, whoa, can't do that kind of thing, it was the parents. The parents of the children. They're the ones that would react in a little bit of a freaked out manner sometimes. Never really the kids. Sometimes the kids. Sometimes. I remember there being a few kids that cried when I hugged them. Uh, I wonder how they turned out later on in life. Uh, um, just imagining in my head how they actually did turn out. Probably quite cold and alone, and you know, that's a judgment there on my behalf, admittedly, but I just think that's such a bizarre reaction to have to a friendly act. I just can't imagine why anyone would feel the touch of another human child, you know, a loving, warm, friendly touch, and think, oh, I don't like this. You know, it's weird to me. It's very, very bizarre to me, but hey, you know, everyone's different. Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about was a colour that I used to see as a kid within my mind's eye. And if I was to compare it to an everyday sort of colour, I'd say cream. Now, this colour held a lot of relevance and importance in my life at the time. It was a tool, almost. It was an aid. And I used it to aid me in lots of different circumstances, but it was usually a crutch. It was like a support to lean back on sometimes when I felt like I was missing home. Home, not just Earth home. But so sometimes I would like close my eyes and induce this colour within my mind's eye just to comfort me, almost, you could say. It's so weird when I think back to it. It doesn't really happen anymore. I can't really induce it anymore. I've tried a few times, but the ability to do it just seems to have gone. But it was a great comfort as a kid, and like I said, it was like a creamy white. I'd see it within my mind's eye, and sometimes when I was ill, I would induce it, and it would make me better, quicker. It was just a real comfort thing. It was like a comfort blanket almost. I never really talked about it with anyone, not at all. In fact, I don't even know if my parents would know about this if I was to mention it. It was never really something I felt the need to bring up. I almost realised that other people wouldn't understand what I meant. So yeah, this colour was an aid. It made me feel better, and it also filled me with a sense of knowing when I'd look at it. It would be like everything just was. I understood everything. I felt comfortable with everything, and everything just was. I really haven't captured the essence of that properly, I don't think, because there's just so much to it. It used to envelop me. It used to it felt like the colour was hugging me almost. It was such an abstract, obscure thing that used to happen when I gazed into the colour. So hard to explain. Words are really failing me here. It was just so beautiful and pure and innocent and loving and nurturing. It was mother-like. It was mother-like. And I think the creamy white kind of tone that it was supposed to represent nothingness almost. Timelessness. It was supposed to represent the void. This is just speculation really, but it felt to me like it was such a comfort, because I knew that when I looked into the colour and I saw the nothingness within the colour, I realised that none of this really mattered. If I was in pain, you know, emotional pain, physical pain, it was all an illusion. And really everything was just this creamy white, this pure, untainted, blank canvas. Yeah, I think that explains it a little bit better. So this last thing I want to talk about is something that used to happen in my childhood, but it also still happens to this day if I do a certain thing. And that certain thing is rubbing my eyes too hard and for too long. And basically I go through this process where I start seeing like sparks, like glittery kind of sparks, colours, weird imagery, galaxies, all sorts of really, really far out stuff, you know. And I'm not saying this is like personal to me. I obviously realise this happens to nearly everyone. You know, you can induce these kind of images within your mind's eye. But the one thing that does really stand out to me is the end of this process. I would go through this fairly long process, you know, it'd take quite a few minutes, and then I get to the end, and suddenly, out of all this other weird stuff that's going on, will come this big, yellow, pulsating ring. Even though the ring's yellow, it has the same vibe as the cream colour that I was talking about a minute ago. Two different colours, but almost the same tone, or same vibration, or something. It was just a very pure, untainted colour, once again. And I remember when I used to see this ring, and like I said, occasionally I still do. You know, if I've got an itch in my eye and I just get carried away, and then suddenly I'll be like, oh crap, yeah, I forgot about that. And it will just start coming in again. But it more happened in my childhood, and I used to feel it was really significant. I used to recognise it almost, and I used to absolutely love falling through it, because that's what would eventually happen. It would rise, 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 until eventually I would go through it within my mind's eye. Such a cool feeling. It felt spiritual. It felt like such an important, relevant, significant thing. I can't explain it any other way than that. It felt like I needed to see this thing occasionally. You know, I needed to remind myself of this ring. It wasn't like a ring that you'd have on your finger. It was just a ring shape. It wasn't a perfect circle. It was more elongated that way. Not completely flat. It was still a circle, but it came out like that. And I'd just fall through it. All these things without the emotions attached to them might seem quite bland, seem quite dull. Oh, he used to see some colours. He used to see a yellow ring. But I assure you, if you can try and tap into the vibe behind this video, you'll be able to pick up on what I'm talking about here, because this is really important, to me at least. It was really pertinent, you know, as a kid, for me to see these things and experience these things.